The Lost Colony of Roanoke, A Tale of Mystery and Silence. The summer sun of 1587 beat down upon the Carolina coast, casting golden light across the shallow waters and thick forests of Roanoke Island. 100 weary souls, men and women, children and infants, stepped ashore with a mix of relief and trepidation. After weeks at sea, they had finally reached the land that would be their new home, the bold promise of England's empire in the New World. They had no way of knowing that their settlement would soon vanish from history, leaving behind one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of early America. The dream of an empire, the idea of Roanoke, did not begin with the colonists themselves, but with the ambitions of men across the ocean. In the late 16th century, England was rising as a power on the seas, eager to challenge Spain's supremacy in the Americas. Sir Walter Raleigh, favourite courtier of Queen Elizabeth I, dreamed of planting an English colony on the coast of North America. It would serve as a base for trade, privateering against Spanish ships, and a foothold for further expansion. In 1585, the first expedition to Roanoke was launched. Soldiers, sailors, and scientists established a fort. They mapped the coast, studied the soil, and dreamed of wealth. But they quarreled with local tribes. Their supplies dwindled, and their hope faded. Within a year, the first colony collapsed. Yet Raleigh would not give up. A second attempt was organized in 1587, this time with a different goal. Not a military outpost, but a true settlement with families, women, and children who would anchor England's presence in a new world. 2. The settlers arrive. The ships carried 115 colonists. Among them were farmers, artisans, and soldiers, men and women who dared to leave behind their old lives for the uncertain promise of a new world. Their governor was John White, an artist and mapmaker who had traveled to Roanoke before. White brought with him not only tools and supplies, but also his family. His daughter, Eleanor Dare, was among the colonists, pregnant with her first child. As the settlers disembarked, they faced a landscape both beautiful and intimidating. Roanoke was an island fringed by marshes, dense woods, and sandy shores. To the west stretched the great mainland of Carolina. To the east, the endless Atlantic. Food was uncertain, storms frequent, and relations with the native peoples fragile. Yet hope filled the air. Only weeks after their arrival, Eleanor Dare gave birth to a baby girl. Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. Her birth was celebrated as a symbol of promise. Surely, people thought, a colony that could cradle new life would endure. Tercero na, governors Delima Trabas soon mounted. Supplies ran low, and relations with the Zacatan and other nearby tribes grew strained. The colonists needed support from England, and John White, as governor, bore the burden of responsibility. In August 1587, he reluctantly agreed to sail back across the ocean to request fresh supplies. It was a painful decision. He left behind his daughter, his infant granddaughter, and more than 100 settlers whose lives depended on his return. White promised he would come back swiftly. He could not have foreseen the obstacles waiting for him. For the long delay. When White reached England, the nation was in turmoil. Spain, the most powerful empire in the world, was preparing an invasion fleet, the Spanish Armada. Every English ship, including those meant for Roanoke, was commandeered for defense. White pleaded for permission to return, but war consumed the nation's resources. It was not until 1593, long years later, that he finally secured passage back to Roanoke. Imagined his heart as the ship approached the familiar coast, the shores where his family waited, the place where Virginia Dare should now be a lively toddler. But when White stepped onto the island, his heart collapsed. Via an empty colony, the settlement was deserted. Houses stood abandoned, weathered by wind and rain. The fort was silent. There were no voices, no laughter, no footprints in the sand. Every colonist was gone. There were no bodies, no signs of struggle. The only clue carved into the wooden palisade was a single word. On a tree nearby, the letters Crow were etched. White interpreted this as a message, a sign that the settlers had moved to Croatoan Island, today's Hatteras Island, home to a friendly native group allied with the English. But storms threatened, supplies were short, and White's men refused to linger. They sailed away before investigating. He never saw his daughter, his granddaughter, or any of the colonists again. The theories begin what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke. For centuries, The question has haunted historians, archaeologists, and storytellers. Theories abound. One possibility is the simplest, that the colonists, starving and isolated, integrated with the Croatoan people. Some oral traditions of native groups describe pale-skinned or light-eyed children among their ancestors. Archaeological finds on Hatteras Island suggest European tools used in native contexts. Another theory suggests as the settlers split up, some moving inland toward the Chowan River, where artifacts have also been discovered. Others may have perished in the attempt, scattered by hardship and disease. A darker possibility lingers, that they were killed by hostile tribes, or captured and enslaved, yet the absence of evidence of violence leaves this uncertain. What is certain is that no ship ever brought them back to England. They vanished into the land itself, their fate entwined with the wilderness of America 7. The legacy of Virginia Dare among the colonists, none captured the imagination more than Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the New World. Her story became a symbol for generations to come. In folklore, Virginia Dare was said to have grown into a beautiful young woman, only to be transformed into a white doe by a jealous sorcerer. Hunters pursued the ghostly animal through the forests, its eyes filled with sorrow, forever fleeing the world. Such legends speak less of history than of yearning, the desire to believe that the first English child survived, that her spirit remained tied to the land. 8. Roanoke in the tide of history. The mystery of Roanoke became a cautionary tale. Future English efforts at colonization, most notably at Jamestown in 1607, were haunted by the specter of failure. The fate of the lost colonists warned of the dangers of poor planning, lack of supplies, and strained relations with native peoples. Yet the dream of an English America did not die. Jamestown succeeded where Roanoke failed, and within a century the colonies stretched along the eastern seaboard. But in the story of America's birth, Roanoke remained a shadow, a reminder of promises broken and lives lost to the unknown. Ajax, modern clues. In recent years, archaeology and science have shed new light on the mystery. Excavations on Hatteras Island have uncovered European tools dating to the late 16th century, whether these brought by trade or by colonists who settled among the. Meanwhile, digs near the Chowan River have revealed pottery and artifacts that may have belonged to the settlers. In 2012, researchers studying an old map drawn by John White discovered a hidden patch marking a fort-like symbol along the Albemarle Sound, suggesting the colonists may have planned or attempted to move inland. DNA projects have even sought to trace possible descendants of the lost colonists among modern families in North Carolina. The results remain inconclusive, but they keep the mystery alive. X. A silence that endures, and yet, after more than 4 centuries, the truth remains elusive. The lost colony of Roanoke endures as one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. Not because it resists explanation, but because it captures the imagination. We long to know what became of them, whether they found a new life among native allies, whether they perished in hardship, whether Virginia Dare grew to womanhood or vanished as a child. What remains is the silence of the island, the whisper of trees overgrown where homes once stood, and the carving of a single word, Croatoan, she. Reflections. The story of Roanoke is not only a tale of mystery, but also a mirror of human ambition and fragility. It shows how dreams of empire can falter against the reality of hunger and isolation. It reveals the risks faced by those who dared to cross oceans in search of a new beginning. Perhaps the colonists of Roanoke did not truly vanish. Perhaps they became part of the land itself, absorbed into the people and cultures of America. Their blood may still run in veins today, their legacy hidden in families who never knew their connection. But until the mystery is fully solved, Roanoke will remain not only a chapter of history, but a legend, one that reminds us of the thin line between hope and despair, between survival and loss. 12 the lasting mysteries stand today on Roanoke Island, and you can almost hear them. The wind sighs through the trees where their homes once stood. The waves lap the shore where their ships anchored. Somewhere in the quiet, the voices of men, women, and children echo faintly. The voices of those who vanished. They came with dreams of planting England's flag in a new world. Instead, they left behind only questions, carved letters, and an enduring mystery. The lost colony of Roanoke was never found, but in that very absence lies its power. More than 400 years later, it still asks us to wonder, what happened here? And perhaps, as long as the question remains, they are not truly lost. Thanks for watching.